Real estate lobbyists are fighting tooth and nail to prevent legislation that would help expose money laundering in our real estate industry. So now this is according to Politico. Washington lawmakers have been working on some legislation for some time to expose the identities of foreign nationals who have been purchasing billions of dollars of U.S. real estate every year, using it, of course, to hide their money. Politico reports that House Financial Services Chair Maxine soon plans to introduce legislation to strengthen anti-corruption laws related to the industry. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse is also pressuring the Treasury, known as Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, or FinCEN, to craft strict rules to cut down on money laundering through property holdings. All right, so now White House told Politico, quote, "American real estate can't be a dark repository for oligarch money." Now, I hope that also extends to American oligarchs. I know they don't like it when we call them that, but functionally there seems to be no difference. In America, we just call them billionaires or entrepreneurs or job creators. In reality, we know that the billionaires in the United States have an incredibly outsized role in and influence in our political system. And so I don't think it's wrong at all to call them oligarchs. Now, that said, real estate is their preferred method, whether it be foreign oligarchs or domestic, tend to use real estate as a vehicle for transferring large sums of money from some of their ill-gotten gains. Saudis overpaying Trump for apartments, for example, that's one. But more broadly, of course, you have drug cartels, human traffickers, terrorists that routinely use the industry to hide their money from scrutiny. Now, one example here you have is a Ukrainian oligarch named Ihor Kolomoisky, whose case is cited in Global Financial Integrity, a Washington-based think tank, one of their reports. Now, what this man had done was amassed a Midwest real estate empire with his associates, at one time becoming Cleveland's largest commercial landlord, leaving behind a trail of unpaid property taxes, unemployed workers, and dangerous factory conditions. Kolomoisky has since been sanctioned by the U.S. State Department, but again, that's a good example. This guy was essentially a slumlord, a lot like Jared Kushner, for example. But look, what allows these people and using these fake shell companies to launder billions of dollars, from their ill-gotten gains to essentially hide this money? What allows them to do that? Well, it's the lack of regulation, the lack of transparency. So now this bill does attempt to do some of that. It basically makes it so that the money is transparent, so that we have a person that we can point to who's receiving the money, who's sending the money, who's involved with this money, who's the owner of the property even. And so right now, you really don't know a lot of that information. It's amazing how much they can actually hide from authorities. In fact, under today's laws, anyone, including a foreign national, can form an anonymous company, shell company, and have that entity use cash to purchase residential or commercial real estate. And we do not have to find out who is running that company, who's actually putting the money through that fake corporation. So right now, if you want to launder money and shield it from taxation, well, then all you have to do is go to the United States. Now, what do realtors have to do with this? Well, realtors obviously make money from those transactions. A lot of it sometimes. According to its own industry research, foreigners made up about 8.6% of all commercial buyers in 2021, and 59% of commercial real estate transactions in the U.S. that included buyers from overseas involved all cash purchases between 2016 and 2020. In addition, regulators are drafting rules to comply with Corporate Transparency Act, which Congress passed in January 2021 over President Trump's veto. Now, that's funny because, wait, what did President Trump get, what industry was he from again? I mean, he wasn't just a reality TV star. No, real estate. Real estate. How do you make a lot of money? money laundering, allowing people to launder money through your real estate. So now it's not surprising that Donald Trump would veto that, because that would actually personally affect his money. Now, these reporting requirements, by the way, in this piece of legislation would be basically, you would have somebody called a beneficial owner, right? And this legislation would basically name that person. Beneficial owner. Instead of anonymous owner of shell corporation that we cannot name, this is the beneficial owner, this person, who is funneling all this money through. So now, the problem with that for the National Association of Realtors is they're saying, oh, no, that could affect us, our money, somehow. That's why they're calling for tailored reforms that address specific issues. In fact, this is spokesperson Patrick Newton saying, this approach focuses on illegal activity while minimizing any negative impact on the real estate economy, which makes up nearly 1/5 of the overall U.S. economy. NAR has confidence that targeted and effective policy will prevail in the rulemaking process. Now, of course, we know how this goes. Lobbyists come in and they take whatever rule is there and they make it toothless. Toothless, unenforceable. So that's what's going to be, that's what's going to happen. Very likely. Again, you think any of these companies that make money off this care about where it comes from? No, that's why they hate this reporting requirement. This beneficial owners, right? They don't want transparency. They do not want you to know who that beneficial owner is. Because what if it turns out to be a drug lord? What if it turns out to be, in this case, a Russian oligarch? Now, again, these rules were drafted before, but since the invasion of Ukraine by the Russian government, well, the United States has been like, oh, well, we really don't want the Russian oligarchs to, be able to buy up all this property and launder their money to the United States. That'd be a bad thing. Well, it's a bad thing if they do it. It's a bad thing if the, Israeli government has done that. It'd be a bad thing if the Saudi government's done that. It'd be bad if any government has done that. The Iranian government, I mean, you name it. Venezuela, right? I wouldn't care if Venezuela did it. It's wrong.
In Venezuela.
So let's not do that. Let's have rules that prevent money laundering. It's so simple. Yes, I'm against corruption. Very strange. Very strange to see that, right? At least in this government. But look, that's the thing. Okay, what looks bad here is, again, if you have these people that are able to use the flaws in our system, the weaknesses in the system that they have pushed, by the way, that again, conservative Democrats, corporate Republicans, which are basically all Republicans at this point, they have pushed to make sure that we do not have these requirements, that we don't even have the basic level of who is actually behind this money. They want to be able to hide the money. Now, what's interesting here is that the association before had endorsed expanding FinCEN and their real estate reporting program. Now, it's something known as geographic targeting orders, but then opposes applying the anti-money laundering rules already in place for banks to real estate industry professionals. Now, it's interesting. So we're going to allow, so we're going to make it so that banks are subject to enhanced rules to prevent them from doing money laundering through the banks. Okay, that's great. But real estate that also deals with very, very large sums of money, just like banking, and can make it very easy, a very lucrative target for money laundering, we're just going to not be in favor of those anti-money laundering rules, because that's too much. That's too much. Really. Now, they, by the way, okay, so let's go to FinCEN here back in December, who had issued advanced notice of plans to craft regulation, extending these anti-money laundering rules to real estate. Part of the Biden administration's broader strategy on countering corruption by imposing new record-keeping and reporting requirements on all cash purchases. To show you how big this is, in 2021, all cash acquisitions actually accounted for about 23% of existing home purchases, or about $518 billion of transactions, according to NAR data. The industry estimates the suspicious transactions account for only a tiny percentage of that amount. But still, I don't know, it's pretty suspicious when they have hundreds of millions of dollars in cash purchases. But since then, since 2016, FinCEN has issued geographic targeting orders requiring title insurance companies to file reports on all cash purchases of residential real estate in a handful of cities, such as Miami and New York, where luxury markets have traditionally drawn foreign money. The threshold for those reports was initially $3 million, but has been lowered to $300,000. The early data from the pilot program suggests it has been well aimed, so pushing back against what the industry is saying, oh, we need well-aimed and well-targeted programs. Well, turns out we already have one. Oh, no, it's too broad. Too broad. According to an advisory that FinCEN released in 2017, more than 30% of the reported transactions out of the geographic targeting order program involve shell companies with owners who had been subjects of previous suspicious activity reports. Right. Okay, so that seems to be a problem. Now, you had Maxine Waters, Marco Rubio, saying we should expand the policy nationwide. And even the industry said that they supported it. However, the Republicans on the House Financial Services Committee last month had opposed it, a bill from Waters that would do just that, saying that it was too broad. It would ensnare American citizens who have, quote unquote, legitimate reasons to keep their purchases anonymous. What legitimate reasons would you want to keep that purchase anonymous? I mean, I'm actually struggling to think of one. I mean, okay, maybe if you're a celebrity and you buy a $10 million mansion and you want to kind of keep that, private so that people don't come to your $10 million mansion with pitchforks. I get it, I guess, but I don't know. I'd be in favor of that being open. That's just me. But look, they supported it before. Let me give you the quote here, actually. This is from Patrick McHenry of North Carolina, is a Republican. To give FinCEN new authorities to monitor American citizens and aim at getting at Belarus and Russia, remember they were crafting this before that, I'm skeptical of it. It's more of a civil liberties concern than anything else. What the civil liberties of money launderers, drug traffickers, child traffickers? Where's QAnon? QAnon, where are you? I mean, you have Republicans that are defending real estate, which could be used to fund pedophiles that are running their sex trafficking rings. Where are you? Where are you? No, they don't care. The Republican Party doesn't actually care about that. At least the people that are in power. I'm sure maybe the voters would care. In fact, corruption, that's one thing that the right and left seem to have in common. Voters all across America is we despise corruption. And it's happening all the time. When you have real estate companies that are paying off members on both sides in order to relax the rules and allow big companies to procure property and raise rents. I mean, again, let me show you how much is at stake here. How many billions of dollars? FinCEN estimated that $2.3 billion was laundered through the U.S. real estate market between 2016 and 2021. In a comment letter on the advance notice, the NAR said that figure accounts for less than 1% of total residential and commercial real estate sales in 2021 alone. Okay, well, that's still a lot of money, though. And it really does show you, if that's only 1% of the amount, well, it shows you how much money is being exchanged in the real estate market. And if it's $2.3 billion, I mean, there's got to be some pretty big players, pretty big whales here, you know? And that maybe we should crack down. Crack down on corruption, crack down on money laundering. Because that would mean billions of dollars less in the hands of some very bad people doing some very bad things. Maybe you should take those people on. That's a good thing. But obviously the money the moneyed interests are against this, and the people that are paid by the money interests are against this. So we'll see. We should really track the members in Congress who are against this, who are against these reporting requirements, and maybe look at their donations. Then you'll see what side they're on. And if they suddenly change their opinion, like other politicians have, love to see that.